Hello my Scrappy friends, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters and thank you for joining me for a Kitaholic Kits design team layout. Now I started this layout by creating my own chevron pattern to fill the whole background of my papers to be like a chevron patterned piece of paper. I used the branding strips and I also used the matching colour to make a thicker one as well. I'm trying to think of how I would explain that. To create the pattern or the design that I needed for my chevron, I cut out a square just in scrap paper and cut that in half to make a triangle and then stuck those two triangles together to make like a parallelogram. Gosh, I can't say that. To make a parallelogram, which would then be the template I needed to create all these other pieces. And I could use the template regardless of how fat or how skinny it was to cut out the correct shape, because it was really just about having that diagonal cut on the right angle so that they would join together to create that perfect zigzag effect, chevron effect. And so you can see here that I have the branding strip purple, then followed by this thicker piece of purple. Now, it really hurt my little heart that for some reason when I put this out or stuck this out, the chevron didn't line up quite right. There's a much wider white gap in between the skinny purple and the fatter purple chevron at the start compared to what there is at the end. And I really had to stop myself from ripping the whole thing off and starting it again to try and figure it out. I just decided it's homemade. It doesn't need to be perfect. It shows that it's not a pattern piece of paper, that I did make it myself. And you know what? I'm going to stick embellishments on here. You're probably not even going to notice or have your eye drawn to it. I'm just going to roll with it and see what happens in the end. And if I really hate it, then I'll rip it up and fix it then. But I was fairly confident that it would kind of get disguised a little bit as the layout progressed. So I tried not to think too much about it and I just kept on going. So you can see that I've got this design with the skinny chevron and the fat chevron happening with all my color choices. And I was really lucky that I could use the branding strips to create all those skinny chevrons. So I didn't really need to cut into too much pattern paper, which was really cool. And as you can see, I've used purple, green, and now I'm using the kind of orangey color, orangey red color, that burnt color that was also part of the collection kit. And I am just sticking this onto a plain white sheet of paper. Unfortunately, when I cut the branding strip off this plain white sheet of paper, it kind of warped the size just a touch. It's not a full 12 by 12. When you have the branding strip on, it's slightly larger than 12 by 12 on that one side. It's like 12 by 12 and a smidge. And when you cut the branding strip off, it just pulls it in by a smidge and it's 12 by 11 and almost 12. So super frustrating. I probably for this particular design should have left the branding strip on. It'd still fit in a pocket page, so that's not a big deal. And I'd end up with the chevron pattern fitting a little bit more perfectly and having less excess waste. But I'll cut that off later anywho. So then I've got my two photos here. One is just a close-up silly photo of Jack with his face makeup, and the other one is like a sneaky photo I took of the stage production. So at his school, they did Lion King Jr. As an entire school, and his role in that as a grade 1 student was to be a wildebeest. And in my opinion, he had the absolute worst part of the show to get to do. He was part of the stampede. So unfortunately, he was part of the part when Mufasa died, which in fact, he was responsible for killing Mufasa as a wildebeest. So I don't like that bit, but that was his role in the show. So he loved being part of the show, and it really opened up his eyes to what stage performing and all of that is like, and he got a little bit of a bug. So as a stage performer myself, I quite loved that. So he loved putting on the face paint and getting into costume, and he actually found that he had quite a good knack for it. He had a rhythm and a beat, and he was really good at picking up and following those instructions, that he was quite often placed in positions where he was like the leader, follow Jack. You know, when Jack gets started, that means the rest of you should go. So he was quite front and center for that sort of stampede part, which was really cool. And I was able to sneak just a couple of photos. We were a little bit far back and the photos are blurry because I was trying to do it in a bit of a careful way, but he is there. And the little black and white arrow that I put on is pointing at him. And even he himself was like, oh yeah, that's me. I can see my mullet. So I think that that's just really sweet that you can kind of tell that he's there. I had one more photo. They carried like these big shields that were kind of the wildebeest faces or the wildebeest themselves. And I do have quite a good photo of him up on stage holding his shield, but his shield's in front of his face. So that one I didn't choose to document that photo because I didn't feel like it really showed him at all. So if you haven't guessed already, the title I'm going for is Hakuna Matata, because I'll pop a little bit of journaling on that kind of explains the story. So I think that works really well. And now I'm just popping on some splatters and calling this one complete. I loved being able to pick through the ephemera packet of flowers and just pick out these black and white flowers. I think they worked really, really well with the layout. And it was really cute that I could still use some of the chipboard as well. Even though that's quite travel-based, I could use that Admit 1 and I could use the binoculars because we're so far away, which I think was really sweet. And I also just cut one of the pink fresh frames in half and popped that half on either side just to make the embellishment classes really similar to each other. So anyway, we've come to the end. I hope you have enjoyed watching this process video. I've got one more process video to come up for you in January, and then I will see you again next month. Thanks everyone. Bye.